Hey, what's up you guys? Welcome back to another video. If you're new here, welcome to my channel. My name is Tara and I'm here to share my love of digital planning with you guys. Feel free to check out any of my videos on my day-to-day planning. But for today's video, as you can probably tell, we are going to be talking about my new financial planner. And this is one that I'm honestly really so excited about because I think it's a great way to start the new year. Anyway, I want to do a walkthrough of this planner first, and then as the months go on, hopefully I'll be able to do some actual plan with me's with my financial planner. But for now, I just want to show you guys what I've created. I'm so excited to get into this. And if you are interested in this planner or my 2023 planner, I will leave links to it in the description box below. So of course, first we have our cover page and you can write your name in here. So one thing that I want to start off with is just pointing out that there are clickable links throughout this entire planner. On the left side here, this is like a table of contents for any of the more annual type of pages, things that you're going to use all year rather than just like one specific month. And then anything that's specific to each month is going to be accessible through these monthly tabs. Now I wanted some of the tabs to be a little bit more discreet. So on every single page, just in the upper right hand corner, you're going to find 7 little icons. We have the home button, which is going to take you to this page. We have the brain, which is going to be all about focusing on your money mindset. The eye, which is going to be taking a look at what your current situation is. This target for any of the goal setting pages. The piggy bank for savings pages, the stack of coins for the debt tracker, and then this star is for some bonus pages. So these are also grouped based on these specific links up here. So the home page, like I said, comes here. The brain will take you to these pages, the eye to these pages, the target here, the piggy bank, the stack of coins, and the star. All right, so let's jump into the first page. The first page is a vision board. Here in the light gray, I have some notes for things to help you think about what you want to put on this page and what you want this page to really represent for you and your goals. And then I have a little pro tip at the bottom here that says, take a screenshot of the white background and layer it over this text to hide it before building your vision board. So if you've watched any of my Plan With Me videos already, you've probably seen me do this, but you can just take your lasso tool. You can just tap, take a screenshot, and you'll get this white rectangle here that's the same color as the background. So then you can just hit this export button, copy it, paste it, and then you can cover anything up that you don't want to see. And then you'll have a blank canvas for your vision board. All right, so moving on, we have our money mindset. This is all about changing the way that we think about money. So identifying what elements of our mindset are rooted in scarcity and how we can change that over to an abundance mindset. And then we have 12 monthly mantras. So you can choose one per month that you really want to focus on. You can choose your own, or if you need a little assistance, I have a page worth of money mantras. And then there are some extra squares as well down below if you would like to add your own. Now, this is something I like to do. I'm always trying to continue to improve myself and trying to find different ways for me to learn. So when it comes to finances, I think that's equally as important. So the goal here is just that you keep educating yourself in the world of finance. So find some podcasts to listen to, books to read, courses to take, whatever that is, and you can just write them down here, write down the platform or where you find them, what the title of it is, and then you can just check it off once you've taken that course or you've read that book. And then there's a notes page here, and this can be any notes that you want to include, but of course, especially about any of the things that you've been learning. Now this is where the eye icon begins. This is, like I said, taking an honest look at where you're currently at. So this page might take a little bit longer to do, but essentially what you're going to do is guess how much you spend in each category. So how much do you spend each month relating to home, automotive, education, health? There's just a few different categories here for you to go through and just take a guess. No cheating. Don't look at any of your statements or anything before this. Simply take a guess. The reason that I included this is because I think it's really important that we take an honest look. A lot of times I think we sort of lie to ourselves about what it is that we're spending on, and that can be really problematic. And so the point here is just that you're really trying to figure out what you tell yourself you're spending on these things, and then you're going to take an average of month 1, month 2, and month 3. So you're going to list those, and this is the part that's time consuming, but I think it will be worth it. So just go through and take a look at your last 3 statements, and then put those numbers here and take the average, and then figure out if your guess here is over or under what your average for the last 3 months is. I think this is an important point of reflection, and then you can just take some notes here on what you've noticed about yourself. If there's any areas that you think that maybe you can change your spending or any habits that this is really pointing out for yourself. This is another area that I don't think that we always take the most honest look at, and we just kind of forget about it. And so that's why I've included it here, is really taking a moment to understand how many different annual expenses that you have, how many things that you subscribe to on an annual basis, things on a monthly basis, and just putting those numbers in here. And then if there are any other expenses that you anticipate throughout the year that don't necessarily renew each year, but things that you can expect to come up. So we have our starting point here. We'll list our current debts, our current assets, any savings or investments that we have, and all of our different income streams. Once we have that information and our total monthly income, we're going to use that information here. So 2 pages ago, we sat through and did all these different categories, right? So you're going to take those amounts and then you're going to divide that amount by your income and times it by 100 to get a percentage. So you'll put that number here. That's going to tell you what percent of your income each of those categories is going towards. And then you can go the extra step and even take a look at what the national averages are for these. I'll leave some links to the ones I found for the United States, but some of the categories don't match up perfectly. You can kind of use your best judgment here. And it might take a little bit of digging, but I think it can be really helpful in getting a more accurate look about what your spending really is. Now keep in mind this part is totally optional, and that of course your spending is going to be different than other people's. It's going to be personal to you. If you're spending more than the national average in a certain area, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's just going to give you a starting point for analyzing your spending, that's all. And then there's this nice visual here. So we have a circle and each of these little lines, I don't know if you can see them well on camera, but each of these lines represents 5%, so it's a guide to help you color these in. And then you can just assign a color to each of these categories and color them in, and you'll have a pretty little wheel by the end of it. And then of course, naturally, I have the ending point too. So if you're doing this for the year, then you can compare the two. And of course, each section does end with a notes section. So we're going to move right along here. This will be our goals section. So this is where the target icon begins. Here you can list out some brainstorming ideas of ways that you can earn more money, places that you can invest your money so you can be smart about it and make your money make more money. And then also things that you can sell. And what better time to do this than the new year and the couple of months leading up to spring cleaning. I think doing this will really set you up for success in the spring, or any time of year that you want to do this, I suppose. Also included here is a list of habits to break and habits to build. So I've of course included some ideas of some habits that are worth breaking and some habits that are worth building. But at the bottom of each page, there is room for your own. And of course you can do the same little trick I showed you before, where you can block out any of these and write in your own. The 2 fonts that I used for this planner, in case you're interested, would be my Skilled Sailor font, which I'll link below, as well as my Sunny Daze font. Continuing on, we have our annual goals. So there's a spot to write your goal and then some action steps as well to get there. And you can duplicate this page as many times as you need for the annual goals, the monthly goals, or the weekly goals. The layout for all of these is the same, but you can just go in and fill them in. One of the things I would recommend doing is taking your annual goals here and then thinking about also what those goals mean on a month-to-month basis if you want to achieve them, and making sure that you're including those in here. And then breaking that down further into your weekly goals. Of course, there's a chance you might need to duplicate these. Easy enough to do. Just hit this plus sign here, hit current template, and then make sure it's either before, after, or last page. I would recommend after, and then just tap it and it'll insert it after that. Lastly, the notes section, of course, before moving on to our piggy bank. So this is going to be our savings tracker. So there are 2 pages here that are almost exactly the same. The only difference is on the first page, I've already written down emergency fund. I've done this because you really should start there. Having an emergency fund is an essential place to start saving. And then beyond that, you can track and save whatever you want. But you'll put the goal, the amount, and then you can divide this by 10, and then you can just color it in as you work your way up to your goal. Included here is a little ledger so you can write the date, the deposit that you've made, and what the new balance is each time that you make that deposit. And the next thing that we have here is our sinking funds. So in our sinking funds, the point is to write down what the fund or the goal is here that you're trying to save for. How much do you need, and by when? What is that goal date? And then thinking about that goal date and what today's date is, what is the number of deposits you can make between now and then? So I would do this by paycheck. So if you get paid every 2 weeks and the goal date is 16 weeks from now, then you're going to have 8 deposits. So let's say that you have a $400 savings goal for this and you have 8 deposits to do it in, then that would be $50 per deposit. So you'll just write that $50 down there. And then you can do that for all of the different funds and goals that you want, and then get a total of how much you're trying to save per week, per month, essentially per paycheck is what this is intended for. And then if you zoom into each of these little ones, you can write down the goal that you're saving for, what the date is, and what the amount that you're depositing is. So the reason I've added so many here is because depending on your paychecks, depending on how often you can make deposits, you might need a different amount of lines. So you can have one of your goals that ends up taking up 2 or 3 of these, just depending on the length of time that you need it for. So you have some flexibility here, but I wanted to include plenty of spots. And of course, you can always duplicate pages as needed. All right, so then moving on to our debt page, we have a debt tracker. So you're going to write all of your debt information. And I think this is really important too, because it's something that we don't always look at. Write the title of the kind of debt that it is. Is it credit card debt, student loan debt? What is it? How much do you owe in total? What is the interest rate? And then what is your minimum monthly payment you have to make on it? I think it's important to keep in mind the interest rate. I think this is also something that sometimes gets neglected. So make sure that you're paying attention to that. And then you can either choose to do the debt snowball or the debt avalanche method. They're very similar in practice in how you do it, but the difference is that with the debt snowball, you focus on paying down your lowest debt first, or with the debt avalanche, you focus on paying down the thing with the highest interest rate first. So that's why both of those pieces of information are going to be found right here in this table, and then you can decide what method works better for you. In the long run, paying it down based on your interest rate is definitely the most cost effective, but ultimately you have to do what's best for you. So if the psychology of paying off your smaller debts first and being able to put the rest of that money towards future debts works for you, then by all means, go for it. This is about getting control of your own finances. So whatever works for you is definitely what you should be doing. And then I have a spot here for important notes. So this is a way to remember things that we often forget, and also to take a quick reflection on, is this hurting us or helping us? So my intentions for this part were more geared towards credit cards, but you could navigate this for other types of debt as well. But essentially you just write down the account, if there's an annual fee, when that annual fee is due, how much that fee is, and then on the whole, is this account hurtful or helpful for you? Did you sign up for a rewards card that has a higher annual fee than the benefit that you're getting from it? Just take a moment to reflect on those things. It's going to help you when you're making future decisions as well about credit cards to apply for, loans to apply for, things like that. So just take this as an opportunity for you to figure out if the value is worthwhile for you. There are plenty of videos on the snowball and the avalanche method if you're curious, but I did put a little bit of a description down here just to help you in case you need it. Okay, and then we get into our bonus pages, and this is where the star is going to take you. So in our bonus pages, we have a few options. We have gift planning. So this is something, gifts for all occasions, right? You have the whole year of random gifts and things for people. So first we have the name. So who the gift is for. Is it for a person, for an organization? What is the idea? What is the budget for it? What do you actually end up spending on it? And then what's the occasion? Why are we doing this? Birthday, anniversary, holidays. And also this helps you then with your budgeting for future years as well. I've also included a no spend challenge, so you can duplicate this as many times as you need. You can rearrange it in the layout, but you'll just come in here, write your start date, your end date, and then fill in the dates of the challenge. And then you'll just mark down your spending or lack of spending, hopefully. You can, of course, have exceptions. There are certain things you have to spend money on, like bills and groceries, for example. You can put those exceptions here. These are sort of your rules. And then any other notes that you want to include. And this is one that I made sure that I included because I need it for myself, but also because I've had a couple people comment on videos too, asking about this for their own selves. So, of course, this depends on where you live, but if you live in the United States, it is wise to put away 30% of your income if you are self-employed to pay back in taxes. But of course, it can really hurt come tax season if you haven't been planning ahead. Then you're gonna have to pay thousands of dollars that you don't have on hand, and that can be really, really awful. So it's just important that each month you write down what your income is for the month, multiply it by 0.3, and that's the amount that should be your goal to save and put away. But here under the saved column is how much you actually put away for it. So you can sort of see what your goal is and what you actually afforded to. So come the next month, if you need to put away a little bit more, you are aware of that. You want to make sure that you're staying on goal throughout the year as best as you can so you don't get hit too hard at the beginning of the year. And then also, depending on where you live, in order to avoid fees, you might be able to pay quarterly installments for the future year. So I know that my municipality does that. So I can send them quarterly checks, and then if I did end up overpaying, then I actually do get a return when I go and file my taxes. So that's really nice, because as a self-employed person, I can never expect a tax return. So at least maybe I'll get a little bit of money back, possibly. And then another important thing for taxes is going to be keeping track of all of your business expenses. So making sure that you're writing this down, the date that you purchased it, what the expense was, and what the amount was. I think this is going to be one of my favorite pages because this is going to help me so much. So we have notes, of course, again. And this is where we get into our months. So you can actually see the tabs will now be highlighted as we go through them. But each month is going to look the same. So you'll have money habits up here, and you can just write any of the habits that you want to be working on. And then you can just take the highlighter, or you can, of course, do the pen tool or whatever you want. But just mark off the days that you complete these habits. You can cross them off. Totally up to you how you want to mark this down, but there's a spot here for you to do your habits. This is undated, so you can use it for any year, but you can just put the dates in here, and this is intended to be a representation of your cash flow during the month. So I don't know about you, but this is one of my favorite things, and this is what I used to do all the time before I had any kind of budget planner. Years ago, I would just take a piece of paper and I would draw out a calendar. I don't know why I didn't just use actual calendars, but I would just draw out a calendar, and then I would write, on this date, I expect to have an extra $50. Maybe I was doing some side jobs. You just throw those in wherever they're going to be. And then you also know that your bills come out on this day. So mine is $114, for example. And you have another bill for $76 on this date, but you know that you're getting your paycheck here every 2 weeks, for example. So you just start to put these numbers in, and then at the end of the week, you can take a look at what your cash flow is. So you can see like plus 650. And then of course you're going to have expenses. So you're just going to write that down. What did you spend that week? And I just personally find this to be one of the most helpful ways for me to take a look at my month and for me to grasp where my financial standing is likely to be at the end of the month. Because there's lots of things that I can schedule out that I can expect to go in or out. And this gives me some helpful future planning, I guess. The next page is the budget page, and if you haven't seen my tutorial on how to do this, I will leave a link to it in the cards just up here. But in that video, I walk you through exactly how to use this sheet, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it today. But you have a spot to track your income, your debt payments for the month, any amount of money you want to put into your savings each month, your fixed expenses, your variable expenses, and then to figure out what your monthly cash flow is. So this will be your income minus each of these sections. Now another thing that you'll notice is that in this light green text at the bottom of each of these monthly pages, you'll have a link to go to each of the 4 pages per month. So the calendar is the cash flow calendar we just looked at. The budget is the current page that we're on. And then we have our percent and our expenses. So the percent you would have seen already. I'll just zoom out here. I showed you this for the starting point and the ending point, but we also have it for each month. So you can easily put this information here and keep track of it. And again, you don't have to do the national average, especially not every month, but it is something that you can keep in mind whenever you feel like it. So that space is still there, but you can track your spending for the month and see how that changes. And then lastly, we have our expenses for the month. Now I've done this for a long time as well. If you're only paying through one account, then this is pretty easy to keep on one page. But if you're using multiple cards and you want to track all of that, then I think it's important that you duplicate this page. So just duplicate it per each account so that you can actually keep track, because what I made sure I included here was a balance. Now, if that doesn't suit you and you just want a list of your expenses, then you can ignore this column altogether and you can put everything all on one page. But I personally like to have that running balance, so I would have one of these for each of my different banking accounts. Okay, super quick interruption from editing Tara here. You can definitely use this page for all of your accounts in one if you want to make sure that you're not putting more on your credit cards than you can afford to pay back in full at the end of the month. It would actually be a really wise way to use this sheet. But anyway, that's all I wanted to say. Back to the video. But that's it. So each month is going to look exactly the same, so you can just kind of click around and you can see all of these links work. And you can navigate anywhere really easily. And then of course you can always come to the home page and navigate to any of those pages from here as well. If you guys have any questions about anything I've talked about in today's video, let me know in the comments below. I'd be more than happy to answer any of your questions. And if there's anything that you feel like I missed that you would like to see included in here, definitely let me know and I'll see what I can do about making future updates. But that's all for today's video. If you enjoyed this, please give it a like. And if you'd like to see more content like this, I make new videos every single week, so feel free to subscribe. And I just love sharing my digital planning journey with you guys and seeing what you guys come up with on your own. So thank you so much for watching today's video. I really appreciate all of you. I hope you are having a happy holiday season, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!